Evaluations. Evaluations. The act of giving feedback and opinions to another may seem like a daunting task to some of you. Now I realize that in Chongqua Gapple Club, all of you, only a handful of you have ever evaluated once, and no one here has evaluated more than one time. So because of that, let me ask you this. The first time you tried to evaluate, for the ones who have evaluated before, how did you feel when you were delivering your evaluation? Were you scared?
Yes. Yes. Frightened. Yeah. Horrified.
Still think you could have done better?
Yes.
And what about the ones who haven't evaluated yet, but when you're thinking about it, what comes through your mind when you feel like you have to do it in the future?
I failed at it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready, senpai.
It's okay. I understand. The first time I did my evaluation on someone, I pretty much didn't know what to do. I pretty much only jotted down notes, but then didn't really know how to deliver it at the end. So tonight, it's a pleasure that I'm invited by Miss Yin over there and to present this helpful workshop. And hopefully, at the end of the day, everyone here, the Chongqua Gatherers, will become better motivational evaluators. Just to note down, I am also getting these from Toastmasters International. Now, in Toastmasters and by extension Gapple Club, we grow by peer-to-peer learning, meaning we give each other evaluations. And everyone in the meeting can benefit a lot from evaluations. For one, the speaker gets immediate feedback on their speech, how they can improve, what are their good points. The audience can learn a thing or two, and the evaluator, they can learn they can sharpen their listening skills, their giving feedback skills, and their critical thinking skills. But to me, it's more than just that. To me, giving evaluations, giving motivational, effective evaluations can also help outside of Toastmasters, outside of Gapple Club, in your personal life, in your interpersonal skills. People are more drawn to a more positive atmosphere, and they are willing to give you their best effort to get that feedback and to become better them. Now imagine this. You're a CEO of a company, and you keep telling your employees that they suck, they need to work even harder, they should really do this, should really do that. And at the end of the day, they might do it. They will do it, but will they do it in their full potential? Will they do it being motivated, or will they be doing it just to get it over with? Now, contrast this if you were more nicer CEO, nicer boss. Imagine if you were giving helpful feedback, you're acknowledging that how the goodwill and effort they made, and even point out their flaws, but you're also giving out suggestions on how they can work it out. Now, in this way, your workers will get more out of it. They'll feel like you are a friend to them, and they'll be doing their job at the best they can, and you get more money out of it. So, to me, giving evaluations really help in work, in relationships, and learning all these skills can definitely improve on your in your personal life as well. So for this workshop, I'll be splitting my presentation into three, which is when you're writing, how will you be jotting down and writing your evaluations, and then delivering. When you're doing your evaluations, how you would do it. And at the end part of the presentation, I would have an interactive activity sessions, and we can all try out what we have learned from the first two. Now, before we move on to the first part, which is writing, I would like to say, to become a better evaluator, you have to keep this in mind. Your main purpose as an evaluator is to support, help, and encourage the speaker. You are there to motivate them, and you are there to encourage them to do better. When you have this in mind, your evaluation becomes more focused, and both of you, the evaluator and the evaluatee, will definitely benefit from your evaluation. Now let's move on to the first part of my presentation, writing. Okay, the first thing you should know is to stick to the objectives. The thing is, I realize that most of you are only going to do CC1 evaluations and table topics evaluations. So I won't really explain much on this, but I will say that basically what this means is that if the project they're doing is about structure, stick to structure. If the project they're doing is about purpose, stick to purpose. If it's about body language, stick to body language. Try not to stray away and talk about voice if the speech is about structuring, then that's their priority. And basically that's the whole point of the competent communicator projects. We learn step by step, and we need to focus on that one aspect first. Now in a CC1 and table topics, it's okay that you're general in your evaluations, because the whole point of table topics and CC1 evaluations is that you can point out what they have as a raw speaker and what they can generally improve on. Now, next up this is a little extra, it's a little tip from me on how to write down and to jot down your evaluations when the speaker is speaking. There are honestly a lot of ways that you can write down your evaluations, but personally I prefer this way. You have a paper and you split it into two columns. One column is with the happy face, it's for the positive comments, and for the light bulb, it's for the points of improvements. Now, I personally prefer this way because I can organize my aspects and can prioritize and pick out which points that I want to use. Like, I pick 2 or 3 from the happy face or 1 or 2 from the light bulb, the points of improvements. So, but if you have your own way of writing down evaluations, then feel free to use it. This is just an option for me in which it's helpful to me, and if it's helpful to you, then so be it. Now we move on to delivering your evaluations. What to do when you're on stage and giving your evaluations. Now first off, let's talk about structuring your evaluations. When it comes to structure, I realize that everyone here knows and acknowledges the sandwich method, which is the bread, meat, bread, in which you give your positive comments first, which are the bread, then the meat, which is the points of improvements, and then you end it with a good note. And so I won't really expand much on this. However, I will say why this method is the preferred way. It's because when you're starting off positively, the speaker acknowledges that you mean the best for them, and you acknowledge their good points, their positive points, and as well as when the points of improvements is in the middle, they are able to swallow that advice better. Some people may not take it well if you start off with the points of improvements early on. Now we move on to the second part, which is watching your words. In evaluations, it's important to choose your words carefully, and this may sound like a complicated and hard task, but the easier way to think about this is that how would I want to be evaluated? That's what you want to think for yourself. Because what you treat others as they would like to treat you. This would make it more empathetical, your evaluation. And it goes back to the main purpose of supporting, helping, and encouraging the speaker. And then another tip that you want to use is the evaluator's mantra. What I saw, what I heard, and what I felt. Basically what this means is that you tell them your reaction about it. Maybe instead of saying, you had great body language, maybe you can say, I saw that you really put an effort going stage presence and doing stage presence, and I really enjoyed that effort as well. And to me, this is important because as a speech is supposed to get a response, and when the speaker knows what the response they get, they are greeted with an honest and a motivated evaluation. And another thing, this is about points of improvements. Try to avoid using these negative words such as "it was messy," or "I didn't like when you did this," "your blank was bad," because again, these demotivate the speaker. Also, try to stay away from words such as "you should have," "you didn't," or "you failed to," because in the end, we are not bosses, we are not teachers, we are members looking out for each other. Instead, a more suitable alternative to evaluations would be, and to give points of improvements, would be a suggestion for if you want to improve your speech, to make your speech even better, and I would love it even more if you would like blah blah blah. Again, it all goes back to the main purpose of an evaluator, which is to encourage, to help, and to support the speaker. Now that we have this covered, we'll move on to the activity part, the fun part, everyone. Yay! So let's try to put what we've learned in practice. Now I've made 2 activities. Now I draw down 2 activities, and basically what I'm going to show you is the notes that you have jotted down for a certain speech. Lisa was doing her CC1, and these are the notes that you have jotted down. Now, what I want you to do is what points would you like to pick first, in what order, and then how would you word that evaluation? So, which do you think would be better to come first in your evaluation? You're all so shy. Good English. Okay, good English.
Good English. Yes, good English.
Then obviously, what do you want to put next in your evaluation? You only have these 2 minutes. Very good. And then, what do you want to put in next? Okay, that's good. You're starting out positively, and then still keeping positive, and you end with a point improvement. Maybe put the good hand gestures at the end. Keep it good, to keep it like a sandwich, like a bread.
The trick. Now I see. Sandwich method.
Now the next part, how would you like to word your evaluations? Let's start with the good English part. How would you say it in the first time round?
Your English was spot on. Your English was grandiose.
Beautiful language.
Grandiose English.
Yes. So let's try to incorporate what we learned and talk about about this mantra, what I saw, what I heard, what I felt. How would you want to incorporate that to the second point, which is that their English was very fluid?
I saw your English flow. It was music to my ears.
Shit.
Alright, so good. We're going off with a good start here. Now, what was the second part that you wanted to include? It was the good hand gestures, right?
Yes.
Alright, now how would you like to word that evaluation? I love how you move.
Oh.
Okay, we're getting there. Now, it comes to the points of improvements. How would you want to word a point of improvement, especially when someone is obviously very nervous?
Shake it off.
Yeah, bro. A plus. Oh, what's your name? You look also okay. Great, so we have that in mind. And so well done everyone for doing a good job on wording the evaluations. Yay! You'll get a thumbs up, a star. Now we move on to another, and this is the same thing, different points. Someone is doing table topics, his name is Alvin or whatever his name is. And okay, these are the points that you jot down. Now, maybe you won't have time to include everything. So maybe one from one side and one from the other. So what would you like to pick first?
Smiles a lot.
Very clear, colorful.
Okay, so I could voice more, so let's go with that. And how would you want to word that evaluation? Be as positive and encouraging as you can be.
Your voice is as clear as one.
Getting there. And then obviously the next point is to get the
Lambat.
we only have one, so let's pick that and clenching. So how would you like to word that evaluation?
Let it go.
Well done. What class are you in?
Elsa's Pet Club.
Okay, so any more suggestions on how we can word the points of improvement, hand clenching?
Relax your fingers.
Right, we're getting there. We are, not only were you putting out what they could have improved, you were giving more tips on how to open up their hand gestures. So, good job on you, girl the Tudong. What's your name? A plus for you, Elsa. Okay. No, we're done with the activities. Great job, everyone, for being. You are learning. Okay, with the activity finished, and you had some practice, evaluations isn't so hard after all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll improve with practice. Anyways. So, just to summarize, to conclude my presentation, if you want to become a better evaluator, an effective feedback giver, what you want to have in mind, when you remember all of this, you can definitely give those words of advice that can change your evaluatee's perspective and encourage them as you go along. Remember your main purpose, which is to support, help, and encourage. Remember to focus on the objectives of the project, how you want to note down, how you want to structure, and how you want to watch what you are saying. If you keep all this in mind, then I'm sure you can all be the great evaluator that you kids can be. Yay! Yay! Yay!
Yay!
Okay. So, hopefully after this presentation, you know more, you know some tips and tricks on how to become a better evaluator.